In these episodes, we're going to be taking our 11 out of 10 interviews where we interview the best, biggest, smartest, game-changing players in the entire industry each week. And we're going to be taking the key moments out of those interviews and just going a little bit deeper, pulling the onion back a little bit more. Now, this first one is an absolute game changer. Partway through RJ's interview with me, he challenged me on one of my biggest assumptions and taught me something that was very interesting. And since filming this interview, I've been thinking about how we could create a feature around what he taught me. And we figured that out. In the next few weeks, we're going to be introducing that new feature to Investorlift. And I truly believe that this one very simple feature is going to completely change the entire real estate game forever. So make sure to stay tuned until the end. So let's dive in.
At the end of the day, I was not focused on it. I was focused on other things in the business. It was a mistake. I've been very open and honest about this because I think people need to learn from it. So that's why nowadays we are not doing any flips. We're not taking down any properties. We have a sole focus on our hedgehog concept, which is nationwide virtual flipping. It wasn't successful because it wasn't the core focus of what Titanium is. I mean, our business was wholesaling. And then we said, hey, instead of making 20 grand on this, let's try to make 50 grand, but we're not going to write SOPs for that. We're not going to have set accountability for that. I'm not going to be there.
Right. So you lost control.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so this is another huge insight that I talk about all the time, and that is having extreme focus. If you look at the guys that run the most successful operations in the country, they all have one thing in common, and that is extreme focus. Because if you're going to be a wholesaling company, go all in, become a wholesaling company. If you're going to be a house flipper, go all in, be a house flipper. If you're going to be a landlord, go all in, become a landlord. If you're going to be successful at anything, you got to go 11 out of 10 on it, right? You're competing against other guys that are going 10 out of 10. The only way to have no competition is go from 10 to 11. The only way to go from 10 to 11 is extreme focus on one thing. Every time I meet with clients and then I'm like, hey, talk to me about your business. They're like, oh yeah, I'm wholesaling, I'm flipping, I got some buy and hold rentals. Also, we're getting into multifamily. I always ask them this question, hey, how much did you net last year? And you know what the answer is? Typically 0. Or they took a loss. Because whenever you're spreading yourself that thin, there's no way you're going to be making money. You're just doing a lot of activity, but everyone else is getting rich off of you instead of you getting rich. So if you are making that mistake, stop it. Stop the insanity. RJ talks about his cookie monster phase where he's just trying to gobble up everything, exploit every single opportunity. Nick Perry talked about this in his interview where he said, shiny object syndrome. If you have that, you're a little bitch.
They have no focus.
It's called shiny object syndrome. If you have that, you're a little bitch.
You got to stay focused on one thing. Start that wholesaling business. Focus 100% on wholesaling. Replace myself from that business. Only once I've replaced myself from that business, I'm then going to start the second business. That could be a buy and hold company. It could be a fix and flip. It could be multifamily. But you got to focus on one thing, get that nailed down, build the ATM, get the money. Once the ATM is stabilized and it's printing cash flow, then move on to the next thing.
I do think that right now, in my opinion, over the past decade, this is the best time to do wholesaling it's ever been. Because of the technology. It has so far eclipsed what has existed. Who cares about where the market is in comparison to 2019 what 2021? I can comp deals anywhere in the United States on multiple platforms. The fact that I can be on the phone with a seller and it could be in the middle of nowhere. I've never even heard about it. Duck Creek Village, Utah. Okay. Immediately go into Investorlift and see I have 2,500 buyers. And I know what they bought properties, where they bought them, how much they bought them for, and how long they owned them, and when they sold them. I mean, this is the golden age of wholesaling. I don't care what anybody says.
I love what RJ just said there, and that is that we truly do live in the golden age of wholesaling today. It has never been easier for us to get deals. It used to be that if you wanted to get a deal, you literally have to drive around in your truck, knocking on doors, asking people if they wanted to sell their houses. Then we got access to property data, and we were able to start doing direct mail, texting, cold calling, channels like that. Now in today's age, you actually don't even need to learn the marketing. You used to have to spend 10 years just learning how to do the marketing. Now we have this new emergence of the PPL providers, the pay-per-lead providers, where you just go to them and you say, hey, you do all the marketing. I'm just going to pay you $150 per lead. You go to companies like Leadzillow or Property Leads and just buy the leads. You don't have to worry about the marketing. You say, you want 10 leads today. You give them $150 a lead. You get 10 leads and you close 1 in 10 and you got yourself a deal. Then, of course, dispo is a challenge. Dispo was the challenge that I was running into as I first started branching out into multiple markets. And that's why I built Investorlift. We now have access to 5.3 million buyers. If you have access to that, you can sell deals anywhere. At the very beginning of the interview, RJ talks about how he sold a deal in some tiny little town in Utah, Duckville Creek or something. And the guy literally, the town was so small, it's up in the mountains or something. The guy literally went to go visit the property on a snowmobile. And he found that buyer on Investorlift. So guys, with the data and technology we have today, it has never been easier to start and grow a wholesale business. Just keep it simple. Buy the leads. You focus on underwriting and closing. That's all you got to learn how to do. Then just get Investorlift so you can display it. That's all you got to do. It's not complicated. Keep it stupid simple.
As you go into smaller towns too, it goes up.
Yeah.
You get hairier deals in those.
All right. So I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Why are you giving my my rural and tertiary markets a bad name, bro?
Dude, I just follow the data.
Okay.
I follow the data.
Okay, but you're following the data of your users,
Yeah.
assuming that the users know what they're doing.
This is true.
Maybe they just need to learn wholesaling the right way.
So if you can teach rural markets, let's do a whole thing on that, because you do well in rural markets.
Listen, it's about buying deeper,
right?
Okay. And it's also about understanding that acquisitions is easy and dispositions is going to take work.
I will say this. When I look at the numbers, I'm looking at Investorlift as a whole.
Yeah.
Right. So when I go into a real market, I see super high days to sell a deal. I see super high contract fallout rate. So when I see like, less than 50,000 population, 60 to 90 days to sell, average assignment fee, $6,000, contract fallout rate, 90%. I'm like, ooh. Yeah,
are
those
like real numbers?
Yeah, I could show you the real numbers on some of these counties. It's brutal. But that being said, it's based on everybody.
Right.
Everybody. So maybe there's a way to do it.
When we get deals in southern Maine, in Montana, like we have a buyer in Montana that it does not matter where it is in the state. We call him the next day, he will drive to it. He has driven 7.5, 4 hours to go to that. And then you go look and it's like, how have you guys done deals in Montana? We did one and establish a relationship, and then we keep going back to the well.
All right, guys, so this was actually my favorite part of the entire episode because RJ is challenging me here. And the only way to upgrade your mindset is to always challenge your assumptions. So this is my favorite part of the entire interview. I am very pro major cities and I've been very against rural, but RJ makes the argument here that, it is so easy on acquisitions to get properties under contract in these rural markets. If you can just solve the dispo problem, you can make rural markets work. And the way to solve the dispo problem is just to find that perfect buyer in each city. So that sounds very interesting to me. And each week we run a dispo live, and normally we run them in major cities, but this week I decided to test this. We took a deal in Beaumont, Texas, population of about 100,000. And we tried working it. And what I wanted to find out is how long does it take me to find that perfect buyer? So we worked it for about 2 hours. We probably got about 15 or so decent leads, but no one that we got on the phone with where I was like, hey, this person is definitely going to take it. So partway through, I texted RJ and I said, hey, do you have any of those perfect buyers in Beaumont, Texas? He gave me 3 names. We called those 3 names, and sure enough, all 3 of those are super interested in buying the deal. If we had a systematic way to do this in every city, it would open up all these rural cities, rural towns, and give everyone the ability to start doing more deals at faster paces in these rural markets. And I've been thinking about a way to do this at scale, and we have a very simple solution that we've actually already begun working on, and that is adding a review system. So if you ever jump out of an Uber or you order something on Amazon or you book an Airbnb, and when you get out, it asks you to leave a review. How do you rate this person from 1 to 5 stars? Or it can be implementing those on buyers. See, RJ knew who the top 3 buyers were in that city, but there was over 1,000 buyers, and we're trying to work through them one by one. It would take us a couple days to work our way through all 1,000 buyers to go find those perfect 3 buyers. But RJ already knows who they are. He's already marked them in his systems as, hey, these are my top 3 buyers. But imagine if he'd already done that. Imagine if he'd already 5-star reviewed all 3 of those buyers inside of Investorlift, so that when you come and you have a deal to sell in Beaumont, Texas, you say, hey, perfect, here's the top 3 guys. So that is under construction right now. It'll be coming out in the next few weeks, and I'm super excited to see how we can work together to go flag those perfect buyers in every single one of these small towns and cities, and see if we can actually make rural markets, rural towns, rural cities actually work. Because if we can do that, we can do way more deals. Because right now, 90% of all the deals are in these major cities, but 90% of the leads are in rural markets. So if this works out, guys, it's going to be a complete game changer for the entire real estate investing industry. And I'm super excited to be working on it with all of you. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this diving deep first episode, dive a little bit deeper on some of the things we talked about with RJ Beats. If there's anything that you want us to dive a little bit deeper on, let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to dive a little bit deeper on some of these, maybe shoot some reels and just go a little bit more in depth on some of these topics. If you found value, make sure to subscribe, smash that like button, and we'll see you next week.